So over here we have a question from 2020 Exam 2, question 4 from Matrices. A second market research project also suggests that if the Westmore shopping centre was sold, each of the three centres, so WGE, would continue to have regular shoppers but would attract and lose shoppers on a weekly basis. So let RM be the state matrix that shows the expected number of shoppers at each of the three centres and weeks after the West Mall is sold. So a matrix recurrence relation that generates the value Rn is as follows. So it's Rn plus 1 can be obtained by multiplying Rn by the transition matrix, then adding B. So we have the transition matrix T here as well as B over here. The matrix R2 is the state matrix that shows the expected number of shoppers at each of the three centres in the second week after West Mall is sold. So we have R2 over here. So part A says determine the expected number of shoppers at West Mall in the third week after it is sold. So remember, W is representing West Mall, and we want to find the number of shoppers that are expected there in the third week. So having a look at our recurrence relation, we're after R3. So R3 equals T times R2 plus B. So Rn is the current week, so current week is R2, and Rn plus 1 is the next week that we're after. So that's next. Rn is current. So we're using the current week, we're timesing that by the transition matrix, then adding B, R3. So once we do that on our calculators, we want to have a look at West Mall. So that's the first entry, and that gives us 237,966. So 237,966 shoppers are expected to be at West Mall. All right, next up we have part B that says determine the expected number of shoppers at West Mall in the first week after it is sold. So rather than looking at future weeks, what we're looking at is the week before. So in order to find the first week, we either need week 0. So if we're after R1. So in order to find R1, we either need R0 or R2. So you either need the week before, the week after. Since we don't have R0, but we have R2, we can use R2. So using our recurrence relation again, we know that R2 can be obtained by multiplying R1 by our transition matrix plus B. So I guess this is the first part that you need to understand, is what recurrence relation is needed. Once we've identified this, there's two ways of approaching this, and I'll show both. Now the first method is understanding how to find R1, and to do that what we need to do is use reverse operations. So from R squared, to begin with, we need a minus B, and once we've done that, we need to multiply this by T inverse, so that's using the inverse matrix. That's one way that you could find what R1 is. Another way to find R1 would be to use menu algebra solve on your TI Inspire. So menu algebra solve. So we are solving for week 2, so that's R2. And again, over here you could either copy down R2 matrix as is, or you can actually store this matrix as whatever you like. You could store it as R2 if you like, and then once you've stored that, you could just type this down as is. So that's optional. So we have R2, and that equals to transition matrix. Again, you need to write down the transition matrix. Now, instead of writing R1, what I suggest writing down is a matrix with A, B, and C. And once you've done that, do plus B. And what you want to solve for is A, B, and C on your calculator. So remember, you write where it says R2, you have to copy down, and I might just use my red highlighter. You need to actually copy down this matrix. Where it says T, you need to copy down this matrix, and where it says B, you need to copy down this matrix over here. But for R1, you type a 3x1 matrix and you write A, B, and C, and you solve for those. And once you solve for those, the question is interested in the West Mall. So remember that the first entry A is West Mall, the second entry B is, where was it? It's up there. Grand Mall, and E is East Mall. Or you could just type, instead of A, B, and C, you could type W, G, and E, whatever helps you recall that. And we're after W, which is A. And once you do that, that will be 241,000. So we can now conclude that the number of shoppers at West Mall in the first week was 241,000.